So we meet again. And as usual, I'm going to move from the legal, so we can do a socio-legal analysis of my topic. I don't want trouble. So I have one digital, I have one hard copy, and I have this one. I think I was tricked by Dennis. The topic was Truth from the Start. Should Ghana introduce DNA testing at birth? But I can see that what he really wanted us to discuss, and mine is a discussion, not a presentation, is whether paternity should be tested at birth. But he clothed it. He started from a very wide general area, and then we are going to maneuver and hit into the area of paternity. I think that traditionally our forefathers had a way of testing whether, I stand on all existing protocols, whether a child or a person was a father of a child. They use such impressionistic, opinionated, non-scientific approaches that sometimes can break your soul. And I have a personal experience. I have over 30 slides, but I have 10 minutes, so we'll just make it a conversation. I got married in 99 December, had a baby by November 2000. In December, I was married to an Oyukwa Busuapenyi of Jaso, Big Deba, to meet myself and my son, and I was taking home a son. Big meeting, big party at my mother-in-law, Madapa's house. People were coming, picking Anabuensi up. Everybody was happy because I have married an Akokra, so they were happy that he had a son. Then one of my husband's cousins came, and I sought permission from my husband to tell the story, called AC, picked my baby, removed his socks and some clothing, examined the fingers, the feet, looked at me in the presence of everybody and said, "What did nokre? Akwalani yeba." It affected me, and I never spoke to her till she died. I was unhappy, told my parents, my mom was unhappy. So when the topic was given to me, I said, well, let me see what I can do. My second story, because he says we should tell stories, then I'll come back and ask you questions. My uterine sister, we are only 2 girls, Krife to a core. I think in the grade of the Krife family that I come from, she's number 1 and I'm at the bottom. Stayed, got married at almost 30 to somebody that we all respected. 6 years, no child. 7th year, she got pregnant. Had a handsome boy, who we call Achadie. Then from the hospital, somebody whispered to the husband that Akwalani de Aso Nseo. And that was the last time we saw the man. In 2 years, he brought a petition for divorce. And the main thing was that the child was not his. Kumasi, one of the courts in Kumasi, got our lawyers. And then he said, I wanted a paternity test. They chose SynLab. We came there, and the test said that 99.999% he was the father. We went back to court, and the guy and his lawyer says, the results had been manipulated by myself and my husband because we are in Accra. The court chooses another venue. We went there, did the second one, 99.999% that he was the father. Came to court and apologized, but my sister refused to go back to that marriage. So, should paternity, DNA paternity, be done at birth? Do we need clarification? Do you need certainty that this is my child? But I have a lot of stories from clients. I'll add my clients and then we can deal with the topic, the substance of it. I think they will share the slides with you. So let's have a conversation. A client who resides in Canada lost his wife. It's a live case and I just filed the pleadings, the petition. Lost his wife. He had 2 handsome boys, 27, 25. After 10 years of being a widower, came down to Ghana, met a beautiful woman. They have 2 daughters. Then about 4 years ago, he sought my legal assistance to help him file for citizenship for the wife and kids. Back and forth, DNA, the girls are not for the man. I have never seen a man cry like a baby. He loved the wife. He had affection and connection with the daughters. And yet, he could not balance the thought that the girls were not his, the wife had been unfaithful, and that he was going to, and the question he asked was, where am I going to start from? So let's go into our topic. I will not repeat the definition of DNA. So we'll move on. And by the way, I have Julius Ampofo for SynLab here. Julius, where are you? Okay, so if you have any technical questions in respect of DNA, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lab, anything. So he will deal with that for you. So the perception when you hear about DNA is basically the determination of paternity. And it evokes the strongest scientific conviction of paternity. But it goes beyond just ascertaining who the father or mother or parentage of a child is. Let's go. Okay, so I have listed DNA, using DNA as a vital forensic tool, what it can do. It can determine your ancestry, ethnicity, and I believe you all see those things on TV, slaves and people, Black Americans coming back. DNA can help you. And then investigation of crimes, listed in 3, I'm not going to repeat them. Crime suspects, missing persons, unclaimed bodies, advanced medical research, determining disease pathways, identify your susceptibility to diseases, and diagnosing genetic disorder. Here I have a story. I lost my brother and my mother within a period of 5 years. And the cause of death was quite similar. So I approached my physician, Dr. Aku Adnyaho, and said, Aku, look at these medical reports and let me know, is there something that we, the rest of us, must be looking at? And it was interesting that after analysis with some team, we found out that we were genetically predisposed to something. And that if we work number 1 on our weight, if we work on 5 other things, it will be there, but we can beat that odds and live longer. So DNA can do that for you. So it's not just about paternity. And when you look at maternity, you can laugh, but it happens. Sometimes because of baby swapping and stealing of baby. There's a baby Mabel case at Kolebu that became very popular in the early 2000s, where a mother gave birth. By the time she became conscious, she couldn't find the baby. So maternity test too, you can use DNA to determine. And then in making sound decisions, lots of disputes arises out of custody, out of paternity, who is the father, a lot of it. Even in marriages, and I have clients who have come before me, and just to spite the wives, or say, yeah, DNA. He knows they are for him, but just to spite and disgrace the woman, or say, DNA. So it will help our judges to, it's definite, so you can make your juridic decisions very sound. And then peace of mind. When I say peace of mind, there's something that they call peace of mind testing. Quietly, secretly, privately, without the knowledge of anybody. He may have doubts, so go quietly and do the DNA test. So that is what we term peace of mind in marital relationship. But there's something called peace of mind test. And then when they come back and the child is not theirs, now they will not know how to communicate to the wife and how to deal. And the least thing, you become violent, and that can lead to the breaking up of the marriage. I looked at global perspectives on compulsory DNA at birth because then it says it should be mandatory. And then I've sampled the next 2 or 3 slides. I've sampled what happens in other countries. Yes, there's not a single country in the world that has compulsory or mandatory DNA testing for paternity. Some do it, but they do it for detection of diseases. Can you move to the next 2 slides? Because it's just, you have it. We've just listed them. And then in Ghana, I wasn't even aware until I started researching into this paper that we have a screening, a newborn screening for sickle cell that you can avail yourself to. Can we move on? Okay, so we've talked about it, and you see, I'm mixing it up a bit. Under the Children's Act, parents have responsibilities and duties. And if you go to Section 4 to Section 8, the children have right to education, right to health, right to food, right to shelter, right to knowing even their extended families. And what shocked me was right to leisure. That if I don't provide opportunity for my kids to enjoy leisure, I'm meeting. And I was telling my daughter that mutiriye, na agogo, right to leisure, Emma utrim. Emma utrim. So if you, as a parent, you have all these responsibilities and duties, then the law must tell you, how do you become a father of a child? So if you look at Section 32 of our evidence decree, it basically, and then the Children's Act from Section 1 up to 8, it basically lists how you become a father. Number 1, if you are married, and in that marriage, your wife gives birth, you are the father. The law presumes that you are the father of the child. Even when you divorce your wife, 300 days or 10 months after, if the woman gives birth, the law says that you are the father. And it doesn't matter whether you are living together, living apart. It doesn't matter that you are married. It doesn't matter whether it's a monogamous or polygamous marriage. Under these 3 circumstances, you are the father. Who knows God sign? The one that you go and sneak out. That one, you are the father. And then if it's proper marriage, you are the father. Live together, you are the father. Live apart, you are the father. Be fighting, you are the father. You are in court, you are the father. I've had about 2 or 3 experiences where and I think my senior here will tell you, in the course of the divorce, they will come back and the woman will be pregnant. And he is the father. Sometimes there's a temporary break. They come back and we finish it, and most times they move. So please, let's go. We have a lot of slides to deal with. I've dealt with these ones. Okay, so let's go. I've touched on this. Okay. So, please move. We've done this. These are some of the obligations that you owe your child. So the issue of paternity, go back 1 slide. Who can request, if there's an issue, who can request for paternity? A child can go to court, the family tribunal, to request for it. A parent of a child, guardian of a child, go forward, a probation officer, a social welfare officer, and any other interested person. And when I say interested person, you can be the next of kin, you can be the next friend, not just a busybody, but you must show the reason and relationship why you think that you have the right to know a medical doctor if it becomes necessary. And then when can you request for, you see that we have moved into the paternity small. When can you request for the paternity test to be done? Before the child is born, within 3 years after the death of the parents of a child, before a child attains the age of 18, and after 18 years with leave of the family tribunal, because at that point, after 18, you have to tell the court and convince the court why you need a paternity test at that time. Okay, so now let's look at this, the challenge. Paternity entails rights, duties, and responsibilities. So paternal responsibility is a socio-legal construct, not necessarily a biological fact. Please remember some of these words because I'll come back to you and ask you questions. Paternal responsibilities come with personal sacrifices and financial burdens. And if you are a child here, everybody is a child here. You've been a child before. Some of you are parents. Some of you become parents. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your own education. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your own trips. Sometimes you have to sacrifice everything that you have to make sure that responsibilities that the parliamentarians passed in the Children's Act, you are able to fulfill them. So, should a parent or a father have the right to know genetically that this is my child, so that when you are giving the child all that financial support, all the care, all the attention, you are sure that this is my child, or we should leave it as it is. And then as a child. So the question that I want to ask you now, should DNA testing for paternity be at birth, or we should let it be as it is? As it is, be at birth. We'll do a sampling here. Be at birth, as it is. I think we have our answer, but we'll proceed. I have 3 minutes more, so let's move. The next slide. Okay, so I've listed a few circumstances or situations under which a person can ask for parentage certainty or paternity test. And one of them is what I stated, that's the peace of mind test. I'm not going to go back again. Knowing for knowledge's sake, you just want to know because you are not sure. But you are still within your marriage context. You will not even tell your wife that you are going to do this. Then immigration purposes, as I stated in the case that I discussed with you, in most of the foreign embassies, they require that you do a DNA test to confirm that you have a genetically connected relationship with a child that you have filed for to move from Ghana to another place. Then a sense of identity. People want to know where they are from, but this is not too common in Ghana. Most times the people who have immigrated for so many years to other countries, or Black Americans, or into brackets slaves who want to come back and ascertain their ancestry and their identity. Can we move? Then access to medical history, I think we have discussed that already. It helps you to avoid potential inherited health conditions. And then for legal and financial reasons, and I've broken it down into 4. Number 1, claim of child support and neglect always almost leads to a request for paternity test because you want to be sure. And then once that is done, it establishes a legal responsibility of a parent. Then you are under obligation under the Children's Act to support the child. And in supporting the child, it ensures that the child has financial support. We are not saying that it's only financial support that is important, but it plays a bigger role in whatever the child has to go through. And also, it establishes a legal right and responsibility. It establishes a legal right and responsibility of both parents. So you cannot run around and say, once the DNA is done, there's certainty, there's clarity, and you have your responsibility, and you must proceed to take care of the child. Inheritance. There are instances where a person dies, and then you know how known and unknown children will come up wanting to participate in the funeral, and after the funeral, then inheritance. So to resolve all these issues, people can go to court and ask that paternity test is done. Even after the death of the person, there are ways in which they can do it with grandparents, with siblings of the deceased, to determine whether truly you are the son, daughter of the deceased. And some social security benefits, you go to SNIT, and they have listed the children. Your son or daughter maybe is I don't want to use that word. It's not part of it. You want to ensure that most likely he's a minor and must be part of it. So you can use paternity tests to assess all these benefits. And then, as I stated earlier, resolution of custody disputes. I think it's the first step in determining parental rights in the courts of Ghana, paternity. So once you go there and it has any issue to deal with uncertainty of the father of the child, the courts will move straight away into paternity. So the implications of introducing DNA at birth is the question that was given to me that have changed into implications so that we don't have a yes or no answer. And at the end of the day, you can decide which way we go. I've discussed most of these things, but the first thing that comes up is it addresses paternity fraud. And 2 years ago on my birthday, I didn't go to work, I was home, was listening to Joy FM, that's why I remember this case so well. And a lady from Blueprint DNA was having a discussion on Joy, and told, and it's actually reported on my Joy Online, that out of every 10 newborn children that are tested for paternity, only 3 positive, 7 excluded. But don't scream, it's just a small sample size. And in my research, I was so happy that the courts can compensate you for paternity fraud. In a case that happened, Boris and Mikado in the Hohoi courts, I'll give the citation, were very interesting. I'll add 5 more minutes to my time, we'll be done soon. A lady had gone to Dofsu to report the husband. They assigned an investigator, and then he started having a relationship with the investigator. In 2 years, the lady then lodged a complaint with the police area commander that your officer became my boyfriend and he has impregnated me. To cover the case, they agreed that they should pay the lady 100 cedi per month. So the man gives birth. So the man quickly ran to Hohoi Family Tribunal, requested for paternity test after birth. It was done, and then it became clear that he was excluded, not the father of the child. Meanwhile, he had been paying this monthly support for almost 2 years. So the man then proceeded to Hohoi High Court and sued the lady for deceit, and then asked for compensation for deceit, and he was awarded. So men, don't worry. Even if you go through this, there's a place where you can go for compensation. And then testing at birth, we've discussed it, it brings certainty to parentage. It's also resolved these paternity fraud concerns, brings clarity and peace of mind, and then it prevents men. I think that's what hurts a lot of men, that they'll put in a lot of support, emotionally, financially, running around, and then at the end of the day, after 15, 20 years, 18, and I was discussing with my co-panelist, who is actually sitting in the audience, Julius, yesterday, about a case where a man had 5 children with 2 different women, and then moved to Canada, came back, moved to Hong Kong, and came back to do their citizenship. He was excluded from all the children, 5, from 2 different women. Yes, and they can cry for you to cry. Let's move. Can we move the slides? Okay. So crime prevention, we have talked about it. Public opinion, that one, I put it there because it's so prevalent in our society. The antennas, the ohenere. If you don't take care, you think that it's a daily occurrence. But when you look at the data, we concluded yesterday with my colleague that out of every 10 births, you have between 6 and 10 requests for paternity. So it's not that widespread. But the few that gets on radio, that gets on social media, is blown out such that you think that, oh, it's you can even mistrust your wife if you continue to listen to them. But it's not a new pandemic. It's a pandemic on social media and on these talk shows. Let's move. Then concerns. So if Dennis says that they should be tested at birth, are there any concerns? Are there any issues that we should be looking at? The first thing is we have ethical and legal concerns. I'll combine ethical, bodily autonomy, and privacy. You know, informed consent is key to ethical biomedical practice. If they want to draw any fluid for any testing, the basic thing they must do is to seek your consent. But if you are extracting that from a baby, a newborn baby, how is he going to give consent? Does he revoke his consent after 18? Or he will have to come and affirm that consent? So we need for individuals, and Yemen or those at the other side, to be able to make that decision themselves. So is it right to do it at birth, or you wait for them to do it at age 18 so that they can personally, they will be of age and they can personally consent to it? So the issue of compulsory DNA tests without informed consent can be highly controversial, especially for minors. But we'll set the tone for further discussions. Then we have potential misuse and breach of DNA data. Already now, your data kakrakra, we have issues in protecting them. Do we have enough laws to protect this data? And what we are asking for is that if we take it at birth, then you have to create a national database. What are its implications to data security and potential misuse of your private genetic information? Let's move. And then the psychological and social impact. You take care of a child for 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 50 years, and then the results comes back, and you are not the father of the child. Sometimes you have nowhere to turn because you have only one wife, one machete, and all your eggs are in one basket, and you are losing all of them. Where do you go from there? Do we have the support system that will give counseling? Where do you turn? So are we ready as Ghanaians to start the testing at birth, looking at these potential challenges? And then the child, how do you inform a child, 15, 12, that your father is no longer your father? How do you manage that? Issues of identity. And then there's no existing database for them to even match your DNA to say that, oh, your father is in Donkokrum, so go look for him. And how do we even follow up in those instances? Then there's a disruption of social relationship and communal parentage. In our societies, it's changing now. Everybody was everybody's child. Everybody, especially in the rural areas, everybody was everybody's father. If you are at Masante Bekwai BD, your father should not be present to be beaten for doing something wrong. Mr. Jari will whip you before he reports to your dad. Once we start pushing for this individualistic singling out of this is your father genetically, how will it affect the social construct? So these are things that we have to also start thinking about it, because we have to be sure that it doesn't undermine the degree of which individuals in communities relate and how we see parentage. Then stigma and discrimination. It affects mostly women, but men also have a fair share. Adultery will be assigned to a woman. There's no way you can wash this off. There's no way you can wash this off. If a paternity test is conducted, you have 5 children, and then even one of them. I have a colleague that I don't want to mention, a male colleague, who also had a test, 3 children. The first, last, correct. Second, excluded. And the wife is broken. Sometimes I listen to her and I feel that test no grass and papa, because she's so sure. I mean, I respect her, and she'll cry from morning to evening and said, I didn't do anything wrong. So these are the stigma, the discrimination. Unfortunately, when you go to the courts, you know, they said that issues in respect of children, marriage are to be held in camera. But you let the paternity test come out. It will come out before you get home. I mean, when the Odate Lamte issue came up, I was like, so who leaked this detailed results? Because the process was held in camera. So it doesn't matter whether you are doing it on earth, above, below, it will definitely come up, and the stigma will follow you and generations after you. In my village, they will not even allow their sons to come into your house to marry from that house, because let's move. We're ending soon. 1 minute. Then the practical and financial hurdles. A standardized cost for DNA in Ghana is between 2,002 and 6,000 Ghana cedi, depending on where the request is coming from and what you are using it for. If you are to test at birth, who pays? Do we make it part of NHI? Is it not already full? Does the government take it up, district assembly? So from here, let's start talking and discussing it. Do we have the logistic support? I know we have a lot of labs here, but the recent unfortunate statement, we had to go to thing that happened, I don't want to go to, we had to go to South Africa. Do we have enough laboratories? I think we have enough, but will it be enough for every child that is born? And we are looking at about between 850 and 900,000 a year. Do we have the resources? So let's do self-assessment as Ghanaians and then answer these questions. Let's go. 2 more slides, I'm done. Okay, so what I'm saying in all this thinking, Brofo, is that we have looked at the pros and cons. Let's weigh them. Should we go for it or we should not? Are we sacrificing the child, the best interest of the child, for certainty of parentage? So when you pick the pros, add the cons, and then you tell me at the end of this discussion whether we are to go for it or not. The last but one slide. So I've listed, no, go back. I've listed a few things that I think we can start doing. Number 1 is to subsidize voluntary DNA testing. If we subsidize, more people will go in. It's voluntary, it's not too expensive, they can go in. Then we can start creating that database. Then we should restrict the compulsory testing for now until we get to that level that we say, yes, this is my personal opinion, to just the ones involving legal disputes, paternity, contested child custody, and inheritance. So if we start with these 3 aspects, then we can move to cover all the other areas, ancestry. So we must start from somewhere. And then we must also involve all matters, not just the courts. Matters that goes to social welfare, DOVSU, quasi-judicial bodies as SHRAJ and others, all of them. They must strictly submit their dealings to the supervision of the court, so that you cannot walk into Fanchiniche DOVSU and then they carry the two of you to go and do a DNA. It comes back, and there are a lot of issues that you can subject everything to the authority of the courts, so that once it is done, it is clear and it is certain. Expand medical genetic screening of treatable conditions in Ghana. So far, the only known one per my research is the sickle cell. That is done for every child if you avail yourselves to. But if you look at other countries, some do as much as 37. I think Philippines is leading because they even have an act, Newborn Screening Act, that guides how these matters are to be done. So as a country, let's start expanding it. Move from 1 to 4, 5, add inheritance, add paternity here and there. We'll keep building up. Then strengthen your legal protection laws on data privacy, because you don't want to have leaked DNA results out there. That can lead to discrimination, and it happens a lot even in insurance cases, in employment. You go in, they want you to disclose everything. Sometimes you don't disclose all. If there's a database that they can sneak in and go and find out, your premium will even go high. So we need better protection for what we extract for now. And then institute public education and awareness campaign across board in dealing with psychological issues, the social impact, and to encourage responsible use of this data where we are starting from. So in my mind, just every baby, the screening diseases, adding paternity, adding inheritance, we are moving. And as we move, we educate people, bring everybody on board, protect. We'll plead with the Honorable Attorney General to start looking at the laws that will protect database for genetic data, and then let's move. And then we set up a support system. It's very important. Sometimes when you go to court and the report is read, then you are left with the client. Either you take the client to your office, sometimes you may have to take them home, because the woman cannot go home, the man cannot go home. So whether you are representing the man or the woman, you need to find a way. And I know we have counselors here who can also come in and help. And then finally, engage traditional leaders, community groups, religious bodies to all come in and support, so that we can have a good and enhanced collaboration with all these people on how we deal with paternity testing. Last slide, I think. The last one. Okay, so my conclusion is that ultimately the debate is not only about biological truth paternity, but also about what kind of society Ghana seeks to build. Do we want one that there is legal certainty take precedence, or one where family and social bonds remain central, even in the face of biological ambiguity? I think we should keep talking, keep discussing, keep exploring. We'll get there. We are not there yet, but we're on our way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.